3, 2, 1. Right, Dave. Right, let's check if we're live, mate. Let's. Anyway, you've been doing this for the last 2 weeks. You should be fine. Let's have a little look. Let's have a little look. I think, Dave. Yeah, I'm just checking if all the tech is all good because I can see you, but I'm just on Facebook. I can't. Nice, nice. Yeah. Hey, everyone. If you've just come on, Dave, I've just had a message that your camera isn't working. You turn it on and off for us. I know it's happening again. Weird, eh? Tell you what I'll do. Let's do this, and then this. Sorry, everyone. Good old tech issues again. Thanks for joining us, Ali, Sinead, Debbie. Let's have a little look, mate. I'll just see if you are with us. Hey, Byron, how's it going? If you do see Dave at any point, do comment for us because he. Hey, Miko, Bry. Yeah. Dave, I think you. I'm almost certain Dave's broken his camera. Dave, you broke your camera, mate. What's going on?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. You can see and hear me, so it clearly works.
Let's have a little look. Yeah. Can someone comment? Can you see Dave? I'm just. Can see him now. Wicked. Can we hear Dave? Can we hear him?
Thank you.
Test the mic, Dave.
Yep. Can you all hear me as well? Hello, Paula. Hello, Sandra. Ali.
Great stuff. Anuj is on here today.
Namaste, Anuj.
Lauren, who Social Yeti is on the man in the phones, as we call it. We can see you. Can you hear Dave? Let's have a look. Yeah, we can hear you. Right.
Can hear you.
Right, Dave, 1.5 minutes. That was the best start to a live ever, I think, since we started doing these, mate.
Yeah, well, look at it this way. We are we're working from home again. I'm now in a different flat to when I was previously, so this is all new technology again.
It is, yeah. We've it's local lockdown in Caerphilly. Typically, Caerphilly is not doing great from a COVID perspective, and our office is in Caerphilly. So yeah, all of the Yetis are currently working at home.
Yeah.
Again, so it's kind of weird because we spent sort of 4.5, 5 months of doing it, and we're missing the office at the moment, aren't we, Dave?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I am. I'm just, I keep refreshing the BBC News page to see when I can go back. Because after like so many months working at home and then being able to be in the office and actually see human beings again.
It's crazy. Yeah. Well, this is why, luckily, we're on the live. Yeah, we did something a bit different. We sent an email out yesterday for to try and get a bunch of questions before we start the live, because it's always great. I've noticed the last couple of weeks. I know you had Dave last week, and then you had myself and then Dave and Fee the week before. So yeah, lots of Yetis. Get to meet all the Yetis. There'll be some more on here soon.
Yeah.
But we realised that people are getting a little bit busy. I know we try and do this around lunchtime on a Tuesday. We hope that's okay in terms of running the live. So we thought if you do have any questions, you can submit them, and then you can always watch the replay. But at least we'll be able to answer your questions. So first bit we're going to cover is we're going to talk about Toubkal, because that's kind of the subject today. We're going to talk about maybe the differences in the winter and the summer ascents and different things you might need for those.
Yeah.
And then we'll have a look at some of the questions we got about 12, 13 questions that came in overnight. And then, as always, I think this is our 22nd, 23rd live. Always loads of questions come in.
Has it really been 23 weeks?
What's that?
Has it been 23 weeks already? That's
yeah. I think the first one was in March, which was crazy. I think the first one was with Lee Wardle talking about fitness.
Was that the first one?
I think that was the first one. Yeah.
Oh, right. Fair enough.
I know, crazy, right? But anyway, we love doing them, and look, it's great to see everyone on here. Sorry to see you go, Andy. Catch up for the replay later. Yeah, okay, right. It's Toubkal then, Dave. Where do we start? Toubkal.
Yeah, so it's one of our it's a very interesting trip because it can be done two ways. You can do it. It's really convenient because you can do a 4-day trip. So if you can book a long weekend off work, then you can go do Toubkal and come back, or you can do an 8-day trip, which is a little bit more involved, and we do like a more sort of scenic route to the summit of Toubkal. But given those two routes to the same summit is pretty interesting, because normally, we like to stick to one route. There's only one way we go up Kilimanjaro. There's only one way we go to EBC, one way we go to Gokyo, and that sort of thing. So, but Toubkal, it can be done in a couple of different ways. And then it changes again because you can either do that in summer or winter.
Yeah.
So, it's almost like it offers you quite a lot of sort of variety in terms of trip length, in terms of like what the trip is actually like, whether it's going to be boiling hot or freezing cold. The choice is yours. But yeah, very excited. I mean, we were initially looking to go in November, but 2020 being what it is.
Yeah, we're still unsure, aren't we?
Yeah, we're still question marked on whether that's going to be possible. But yeah,
we'll see how it goes. Yeah, you're right. I mean, fingers crossed we can. I mean, it's the same as anything at the moment. Wherever you go, there's going to be, there's going to be times where a month before we'd be like, look, they've shut down the country, or there's going to be restrictions on us leaving the UK. We just don't know. So, yeah, fingers crossed we can, but we'll have to play it by ear with November.
Yeah.
But right, yeah. So winter, summer, the 4-day, 8-day, as Dave said, lots of variety. One of the great things, I suppose, about Toubkal, it's short haul. It doesn't take that long to actually get there. I think it's just over 3.5 hours. So it's nothing really to go to high altitude. And you're pretty much touching 4,200 meters. So yeah, during let's talk about November then. If we're going November through to say early March, maybe late February, you're talking about proper winter conditions. They do have a ski season, believe it or not, in the Atlas Mountains. I know a lot of our guides over there actually do a lot of skiing.
Yeah.
Where we got the Imlil Valley, which is, if you go into Toubkal, that's where you'd be starting from. Is Imlil was the village where you'll be meeting your mules, you're meeting your guides, and that's where you start all of your, whether you're doing the 4-day or the 8-day, you'll be starting there. And it's not too far until you get, especially in winter, until you start to reach the winter conditions. Yeah. So, hey, Mick, good afternoon. He's got
Mark said I need a Zoom wall or some pictures. Mark thinks I'm in prison. It does kind of look like that. Have you seen those on Netflix, those Piers Morgan interviews with a serial killer? This is what this looks like right now. But
wow.
Yeah, you are right. I don't really have anything that I can put here, to be honest. I've not long moved into the flat. I mean, May. So yeah, long enough to put some stuff on the walls. But
yeah, you do need some more pictures on the walls, Dave. The thing is, they're all in the office, so hopefully a few weeks to be back in the office. And
that's it. Yeah, exactly.
Colourful walls. But yeah, with winter, it is winter conditions. If you are booked in to any of our trips during the winter months, then we always do suggest doing some potentially winter skills. You can learn when you're there. It's just good to get some experience. So we're talking like time on crampons, time with an ice axe. Having those the winter kit, if you like, is definitely an advantage. Whereas in the summer you don't need that. You're just walking through a valley up to the top of Toubkal. You don't really need any sort of winter gear at that time. So anything from say November through to say beginning of March. So just have that clear in your mind if you are booked in those dates that there is going to be snow around, which is awesome. But potentially going to be using crampons and an ice axe.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, like Andy said, there's nothing technical that you have to be able to do. So you're not going to be doing any like rock or ice climbing or anything like that. The crampons are for grip in like icy mixed conditions and things like that. But you can sort of like go there and put them on for the first time and get to the top. But just in terms of like comfort and things like that, I'd be inclined, just to go there, have a little bit of familiarity with how to put them on, take them off, how to walk in them, because it is slightly different. And then, you'll just have to you just concentrate more on what you're doing as opposed to, what's on your feet. So yeah, big difference.
So I'm just reading some of the comments coming through that you're an incarcerated gang member, Dave. Hashtag incarcerated gang member.
I don't know what will possibly give you that idea.
I think so, mate. Well, that's why you're the painted Yeti at the end of the day.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But yeah, Toubkal. So I mean, another difference. So summer, winter is some of the routes. So basically, you've got the Imlil Valley and you've got the Mizane Valley. So there's two different valleys there. And when you climb in Toubkal, you've got the North Col. The most popular route, and 95% of companies and people who go to Toubkal take I believe it's the South Col route. But the North Col route is also fine to take on during summer. It's quite difficult during winter, that. So, you've got to be very experienced, fix ropes. You're talking that's some steep stuff. I mean, if you're used to doing any mountaineering in Scotland, that might be a good challenge. But we stick to the South Col route.
Yeah.
But we do, especially during winter, we do take the Mazane Valley, which is a slightly different route. You do start at Imlil, but it just goes the long way round because you go the normal route. It does is a little bit of an avalanche risk. So we got to sort of take it easy. And I think it's big to, it's very important. We like to always talk about flexibility. Because of weather conditions, it can turn at any time, especially in mountainous regions.
Yeah,
we are always flexible, but there's a couple of different ways that you can get up there.
Yeah.
Depending on the winter and the summer route, because the summer route it's a bit easier because there's no no challenging conditions to get up it.
And that's one of the reasons why we use local guides as well. Rather than having like a Western guide turn up to the country and run the trip, because given those local guides, they'll be familiar with the weather and the changes and what the landscape is like. It's the same for all of our trips. Almost certainly when you arrive to do a trip in Toubkal, that guide would have been there recently, already running trips before yours, so knows what the terrain's like. And that's what we say. We offer an itinerary, but if the guide feels like it's better to go one way or the other, then we do that, because ultimately we want to get you to the picture on the top with the what's it called on the top of Toubkal, like that pyramid, but it's not a pyramid.
It's like a metal pyramid. It's quite iconic, isn't it? You've seen if you Google Toubkal, that'll be the first image that'll come out. It'll be basically this big metal marker for the summit. So quite a distinctive summit, isn't it? But I'm just now. I mean, we've talked about Toubkal a little bit, and any questions around Toubkal, guys, do just post them. While we're on here, I think let's have a little look. Jishu, you've messaged. Now, I'll bring your question in if we can. I know we've had a few tech issues lately, but let's bring that in. Can you rent the equipment locally, or is it better to buy? Yes, you certainly can. You can rent them locally in Imlil. It's got all the gear there, very similar to, if you go into say Everest Base Camp, and you've got Tamil, you've got Imlil's really good. You've got a lot of shops there you can hire gear from. Obviously, if you want to use your own gear, no problem. You can bring that with you if you're experiencing that. But if not, you can certainly hire some out there. And is Toubkal good training for Elbrus? Yeah, it's weird. On the last live we were on, Dave, we got quite into depth about talking about Elbrus, didn't we?
I think winter definitely. I mean, any sort of peak like that where you actually go to altitude. I mean, Toubkal is what, 4,100. 100, help me out, and 60 something. I think it's something along those lines. So anytime you go into altitude and you're also trekking in winter conditions, snow, ice, using crampons and stuff like that, you build in a sort of bank of experience, so it becomes a little bit second nature. I mean, when you're on Elbrus, you might be in tents and things like that on high camps, and knowing how to sort of manage an expedition camping. So you're in the tent, you've got to kind of get an order to like your clothes, how you put crampons on and off, and stuff like that. So all of that experience is built in. And weirdly, I have seen people put crampons on like back to front and stuff like that. So, and altitude sometimes, although Toubkal is not extreme altitude, that's why we're able to do like a 4-day weekender, because going up to 4,000 meters, it's possible to get to the refuge, what we call the Toubkal refuge, which is where you spend the night before summit night. And then you can kind of make a dash to the summit and come back down again safely. You're not exposed to extreme altitude for long enough, really, that you are going to experience, or there's a high risk of you experiencing altitude sickness. But it is, any mountain, I think, where you're going to experience winter conditions will be a definite good training for Toubkal, for Elbrus.
Elbrus, 100%. Totally agree with you there, Dave. Diane's asked a good question. Hey, Diane, great to see you on the live again, mate. And I hope you and the family keep them well. I know you're booked in November. I did just double check, and I think you're booked in on the 19th of November. In a couple of years, because I know you've got a few trips booked with us. I'd say, there's definitely a potential for winter conditions in November. It's when it kind of starts to get wintry there. Very, very similar to the UK and Europe as such, because Northern Hemisphere. So there is a likelihood. It might not be, say, as bad as, say, January, but there might be an opportunity. And again, this is where we can use them. We can use the local gear if needed, Diane. Because I presume you haven't got the winter gear. And like I said, if you haven't used them before, and there are parts where you've got to go on some snow and ice, the guys will walk you through that, literally.
Yeah, nice.
Make sure you're all good, before you do get on some steep ground, okay? But ultimately, November, there is just to answer your question, there is a potential that could be ice axe time, definitely.
Awesome. Well, we've got loads of questions, and do you reckon we should sort of get some of these?
Yeah, because I know we got about 12, 13 that came in via email. So yeah, we'll take those as well. And obviously, I can see the questions that are coming in.
Yeah, well, we've got
just one quick off the bat one was Jerome actually said there any cost difference between summer and winter for Toubkal? Not really, because for us, our trips, whether you do it in summer or winter, are the same. The only extra difference might be, sort of £20 or £30 to rent the equipment.
Yeah.
Maybe there's a slight differentiation on difference in price of flights. But other than that, Jerome, it's we don't charge any different for winter or summer.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers your question. Dave, what questions we got?
Right. Well, we've got loads that we said we had sent through yesterday, and then Lauren, yes. I think I'm not. She's got to be careful because I think she's going to get arthritis. She's typing so fast. But yeah, so just diving in right in the middle. Wow, we got one about Kathmandu. Awesome. That's what I love about the lives. You see, go from one to the other. It says Joel, aka Glenn. So
yeah.
Is Kathmandu a safe city? Pockets, walking alone at night, etc. Can't be any worse than Newcastle, but just interested to know. Because Kathmandu is a really, really safe city. I actually feel, I'm safer walking around Kathmandu at 2 o'clock in the morning, than I would, walking around Newport at 2 o'clock in the morning. So yeah, the Nepalese and Kathmandu by a whole are very friendly. The city itself is, really nice to walk around and experience.
It is, isn't it?
There's probably are some pickpockets and things like that, like there are in every city. But I've not been to Barcelona, and you might have, but I've heard some Barcelona is really bad for pickpockets.
Yeah.
I went to
really bad
Tallinn in Estonia before, and I actually saw it happening and was able to shout out. I've not seen it in Kathmandu at all, or any evidence of it. So no, Kathmandu, pretty free, pretty friendly. Yeah, you can enjoy it.
Yeah, just to echo your thoughts there, it's one of the, I had the same sort of trepidation before I went to Kathmandu the first time, and after a while, you just feel so safe there. Everyone's so friendly. It's not one of those places. Very different to say if you were going to, I spent a lot of time in Thailand years ago, and Bangkok can be a bit dangerous sometimes. Manila in the Philippines. Still love those places, but yeah, you're right. I feel way safer over there than I do in, say, the nighttime in our own cities. Shouldn't be that way, but Nepal, very, very safe.
Say with Kathmandu, when I was there, it's one of my favorite places in the world.
Yeah,
there's no aggression. There's no aggression in Nepal, really. Sometimes, like Andy was saying, in some cities it can feel a little bit aggressive, where you're being hounded or badgered, or when you're out on a night out, you might see some aggro or stuff like that. I've never seen it in Kathmandu, honestly.
No,
I've never seen it in Kathmandu, which is why I go there. I can go there for work, and then if I book 2 weeks off work or for a holiday, I'll go back to Nepal and Kathmandu. That's how much I like it.
I think their culture has a lot to do with that. Buddhism and Hinduism, they're very I don't know, it's kind of chilled out. Very chilled out people, and they're lovely. Yeah, there's, like you said, Dave. You said lack of aggression there. There's none of that. There's none of that aggro.
Exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, so I hope that answers your question.
We did have one, and from the email in.
Yes.
So I thought we may as well. It was from Alan Murphy. Briefly, is there any possibility of an alternative to Facebook, as I'm not on the social media platform?
Yeah, always a good question. We had this a couple of times, and I appreciate. Yeah, certainly not everyone's on Facebook. Obviously, I know we've built a big community on here, which is why we do the lives.
Yeah.
We do like to repurpose them. Obviously, I know I've been sort of in and out last couple of weeks, but we will get all the lives up on YouTube, and also put them on the podcast as well, so you can listen or rewatch them on YouTube. I appreciate not everyone's on Facebook.
Exactly. But they are on, like you said, any podcast. Like if you go to Apple Podcasts or any other podcast provider, they're on there. They're on YouTube. Other than that, just sign up to Facebook, I guess, Alan.
Yeah. No, but yeah, and it's thing because there's a couple of I mean, if you're on Netflix, there's a couple of documentaries around was it The Social Connection or something like that. I haven't seen it, but I know it's there's a little bit of negativity around social media. But look, I mean, we find it as a good platform to do this kind of thing, to share our sort of experience and knowledge, and hopefully it would help you when you're going on a trip. So yeah, we have to choose a place to do that. We think about doing it on maybe Zoom or something like that, but we do enjoy the Facebook. We've got a great community. That's why we choose to do it on here. And
exactly, yeah.
We see it as a positive thing rather than a negative thing.
Yeah, I watched one of those documentaries. I think they have a lot of truth, but I just think you just got to make sure that you don't live your whole life on social media.
Yeah,
you get all your news from Facebook. We use Facebook, like I said, as a way of connecting with people, and that's pretty much our reason for doing it, was because we've got plenty of people on here now. We're talking, we're exchanging, and that's incredibly positive. So we'll keep doing it.
Yeah, just seeing some of the comments from the guys there about Haley and Andy. Looks like you had a good time in Kathmandu as well, especially Andy. 3 a.m. in Tamil. Yeah, we know your pain.
Yeah. I mean, 3 a.m. in Tamil equals a very difficult sort of 1 p.m. in Tamil. You know what I mean? Like, so after you've woken up, you're like, oh God.
Yeah.
But yeah,
talking about Haley, she did email in yesterday asking, could you show us the alternative bootlace tie-in method again? David, I think this is
Andy. I wish you'd have told me about that question before, so I could.
Well, luckily,
so I could prepare.
As with Blue Peter, was it Blue Peter? Here's one we made earlier.
Yeah. Well, right. I did so. We'll have a little.
Haley needs to know this one.
I'm going to move this down so you can kind of see it. Okay, so this here is a very unwaxed Maindel Bhutan boot.
That needs some serious treatment, Dave.
It does need some serious treatment, but Brecken's a tough place, man. So right, this is completely just laced up to the eyelets with the
very good.
So this is how I lace my boots. So cross over once, first loop, then bring it across. Then I will fold that under once.
Yeah.
Then I'll fold it under twice, so you get like a nice triple fold like that. Nice. And when you pull that tight, then it doesn't undo. That's pretty safe. Then you go up to the top eyelet. So it looks
come on the inside, right?
Yeah. So something like that.
Yeah. I like it.
Then cross over and go down to the middle eyelet. And then what you do then, so now you're not at the top of the boot, tie in your knot here, you tie in your knot down there.
The middle, yeah.
Nice. My hand is so in the middle of the boot. And then what I'll do is I'll go over once, twice,
3 times,
pull it tight, tie it there. So
nice, Dave.
As you can see,
I can hear the applause, mate. Literally, I can hear it. Yeah.
The reason why this is a good way to do it and why I like to do it this way is because if you tie your knot here at the top, a lot of the tension is around your ankle, which can make your Achilles hurt, but also doesn't stop your foot sliding forward. So what you do is you tie it around there once, which gives it just as much as you need. And then here you tie the knot and it'll lock your ankle in there as opposed to the top. And then what that'll do is stop your foot sliding back and forth. And by going over the laces once or twice means that it won't loosen throughout the day. So that'll stay there solid.
Very good, Dave. Loved it.
There's a lot of mud on my desk.
Very good, very good. I'm just going to crack on with the other questions. We come for the email as well, just while we get them done.
Yeah.
I think we had one from Morgana Daniel. And what time roughly do we start walking on the Kilimanjaro trip? You heard the summit push that night, but wondered what the rest of the trip was like. So yeah, normally we start sort of 7:30. We had Yesi, who was one of our fantastic guides over in Moshi in Tanzania. Yeah. Normally we stick to kind of the same, so you're into your rhythm. So you almost wake up knowing that you've got a time to work towards.
Yeah.
So we'd have a time for breakfast, then we'd have a time that we're going to leave. So everyone's sort of ready to rock and roll. So we don't, we don't like to lie in. Obviously, summit night is a bit different, where you're only having a couple of hours sleep. You're getting up at say 10:30, and you're starting your actual summit push at 11 p.m. So that's a little bit different, but yeah, otherwise, look around about 7:30, 8 o'clock. But I know some guides tend to gauge how the teams are feeling, because some people just prefer that extra half hour. And you know what, we are flexible like that. If a lot of the team are kind of like, oh, can you give us a little extra half hour?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you're just going to arrive half hour later to your next camp, so it's not a major problem.
Yeah.
On Killy. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, generally speaking, you'll get told this the night before as well. So you'll be in the tent the night before having your food, and then they'll give you a briefing for the next day. And it's normally like 6 o'clock wake up, 6:30 water for washing and tea, and then 7 o'clock, breakfast, leave at 7:30, something like that. So yeah, but as Andy said, all bets are off on summit night. If you're fond of long lie-ins every day, summit day is going to be a challenge.
No, it is. Yeah. If you've never worked nights or you've never done like a trek in the dark, it's certainly different. But part of the challenge.
Exactly. Yeah. So
great stuff. What else we got, Dave? We got heaps. We got Trevor, who was asking about a good set of walkie-talkies to buy for mountain range. Yeah, I mean, if you're coming on a trip with us, you probably don't need them because your guides have got it covered. But I mean, generally, if you're out hiking in the UK, I mean, there's loads of different makes. I mean, Motorola seem to be pretty good. I mean, I have to be honest. When we go out, just us, we don't really carry one.
Yeah.
But having a quick sort of search and everything, there's a lot of options on there. If you have a quick Google, there's loads. We don't need them on our trips. Our guides carry all the communication equipment.
Yeah, probably you could message maybe Mountain Rescue and ask them what they use or something like that. They might be guy. I honestly have no idea. That's one bit of equipment that I've never used or anything like that. I've never found that I've needed to. Because generally speaking, our groups stay together. So one end can shout to the other end and speak to each other. And if there's poor visibility, then we stay like quite tight together. So generally speaking, because we do quite small groups, we have more than one guide per group looking after the front end, the back end. We have a guide in the middle looking after those guys. So generally speaking, communication is pretty good and fluid. Also, in the countries that we visit, the guides have local phones that all work in the mountains and stuff like that. So pretty good there.
No, I think especially like if you climb an Island Peak, Mara Peak, any of those as well, they do use expedition level walkie-talkies on there to communicate because of visibility.
Yeah.
If you're climbing a proper peak like that, they've got the equipment there. But in terms of ones for yourself, Trevor, have a little Google, mate. It might be a question you put in the High Altitude EverTrekkers group as well. Maybe there's some mountain guides, other people who might use them in the UK a bit more. I reckon fire it out there, Trevor.
Excellent. So another one, Gregory Arthur Wallin has said, he's booked Killy 2023, nice, and realised that he never looked up dietary restrictions. Both him and his wife are vegetarian. Is this going to be a problem on the trip? Not at all. No. So all of our trips now, cater for both, meat eaters, vegetarians, vegans, gluten intolerance, all that sort of thing. As long as you make us aware and you make the guide aware during the initial briefing when you arrive, they'll make sure that there's enough food, for you, all the way up Killy. But no, vegetarian is going to be perfectly fine. On Kilimanjaro, things are a little bit different. As long as we can keep the food safe, we can cook it because they use gas and things like that. So that's a good system.
Yeah, nice. Jerry Keane, also on email, mentions 56 years old. Would appreciate if you could provide me with a training program to enable me to join you on the treks without slowing others down. And he says perhaps Killy or Morocco would suit me better. Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think the way you've ended it there, you said about Killy or Morocco would suit you better. Because we were talking about this, Dave, because I know we went through some of these questions beforehand.
Yeah.
And we're thinking that, Killy, personally, I'd say is probably harder than, say, if you were looking at Everest Base Camp. With regards to training plans, what I'll do, Lauren, who's on, who is manning the phones, the comments. If you can pop we do have some training plans, and we've got a training guide, so you can have a look at that.
Yeah.
With regards to slowing people down, it's not something that really happens on our treks. I mean, because we get it a lot. What happens if I come on the trip and if I'm slow and I hold everyone back? Well, you're probably acclimatized better.
Yeah.
Generally, the slowest people, perform better at altitude just because you spend all that time. Say you arrive maybe half hour, an hour later than everyone, than maybe the fast people at the front. Imagine that every day, cumulatively. So you're talking 8 to maybe 10 hours more of acclimatization than everyone else, and that that helps, especially on a long multi-day trek.
Yeah.
So don't think that if you're slow, that's going to hinder you in any way. If anything, that's going to be a benefit to you.
Yeah, and
especially on trips.
All of our trips as well, there's always different people going at different speeds, but generally speaking, we stay together.
Yeah.
And you're more likely to be told to slow down than you ever are to be told to speed up. Unless it's so slow that you're going to be 12 hours on a 6-hour trek, but that's never happened. We have a big emphasis on it's not a race, it's an experience.
Yeah.
If you race to the finish or you race to the summit of Killy or to EBC or wherever you're going, you're not going to feel great when you get there. That's been proven. We've had triathletes go to base camp and army PTs and stuff like that. We had personal experience of this, and where they were really strong, some of the fittest guys, pushing on really early, and then really, really struggled when they got to base camp. When other people who are less fit, just average Joes, felt fine and were laughing and joking and really enjoyed themselves. So go use slowness as a tool, use it to acclimatize, and you'll do far better when you get higher up.
Yeah. Very well put.
Interesting question here, actually, from Abby.
Okay.
Which we haven't had before. So this is a new one. Can altitude have a negative impact on sleep quality? Would herbal sleeping tablets be a good solution, especially for the evening before summit day on Killy? Now, I did a little bit of looking up on this because altitude will affect your sleep. There's no question about it, to some degree or another. Some people just find that they don't really notice any difference. Other people really struggle to sleep at altitude. My personal advice would be that any sort of sleep aid would probably have a negative effect on you, because they tend to be sort of suppressants where they relax you. They have a more sedative effect. And they'll slow your breathing down and stuff like that. So if you might sleep better, but you won't acclimatize. And you can push through tiredness, but you can't push through altitude sickness.
Yeah.
I especially wouldn't do it the evening before summit night on Killy, because if you wake up and you're tired and lethargic, it's going to be an almost impossible task to push yourself to the summit of Kilimanjaro, because you can put, like I said, both myself and Andy did Kilimanjaro in February, and one of the things that we took back from it was, one of the biggest challenges was the sleep deprivation, the tiredness and stuff like that. But if you take a tablet, you've only got a few hours of window for sleep, so it's still going to be in your system when you wake up. So my personal advice is do your best to acclimatize well. That's how you can sleep well on the mountains. Garlic soup, take Diamox if you need it, walk slowly, drink lots, eat good meals, and that'll do a lot more for you than any sleep aid. That's my personal advice. There might be, someone might have a different opinion, but based on my experience at altitude, that's what I would recommend. Yeah,
bang on, Dave. Bang on. I think it's part of the challenge, isn't it? You'll be knackered, especially if you're going on something like Everest Base Camp. You'd be surprised you get a lot of sleep. Killy, obviously you got the summit night where you certainly have a lack of sleep. But most other nights, you're so tired from actually doing the walk inside that you just sleep pretty well. But it's part of the challenge. Lack of sleep, lack of energy, altitude. All these sound like, oh my God, this is terrible. But it's part of the challenge, and it's not for everyone, But if you're up for a challenge, then we'd love to have you with us. Hope that answered your questions, Abby. Good question. Let's have a look. I know we've got a lot of people. Was it John? John Strettle actually messaged in yesterday, asked about the Rab Positron down jacket. Is it overkill for EBC? Dave, I know you're the equipment guru for us.
No, it's just about right, actually. It's fine. To be honest, there isn't really. I mean, I would say a down summit suit is overkill for EBC. Any down jacket is not going to be overkill, because if you're wearing that, it's going to be cold. And if you put it on and you're warm, that's fine. A lot of the time when I wear a down jacket, I've just got a base layer under it or a thin fleece. So if it is a really big jacket that you find is like really warm, then just put a base layer under it. It's all about the layering, remember, not one single piece of equipment makes the difference between sort of making it, not making it, being comfortable or not being comfortable. So use your jacket as part of a layering system. And if you get too hot, unzip it or take it off. If you're cold, put it back on. But it's not overkill. It's actually just about right. I think it's now the replacement for the jacket that I first used and Andy recommended to me when I first went, which was the Rab Infinity Pro Endurance.
Yeah, they don't make it anymore, do they?
It's a shame. It's a good jacket.
That's it. Great jacket. But the Positron's another part of it, I suppose.
Yeah, no, the Positron's a good jacket. Yeah, it was great, especially at night and things like that. I think if you're cold in the lodge in Gorekshep, or you want to sleep in your denim jacket and stuff like that, honestly, then you will realize quickly that no jacket is overkill when you're cold.
Sinead, who's a big part of our EverTrek community, she's been with us, and she's come back with us as well, which is awesome. But she used the Positron and EBC, and it was great at night. So there we go.
Well, Sinead was interesting. I actually didn't realize when I put up a post about the Carry Me Back campaign. I put it on Instagram, and it was about just letting people know that when they go up to EBC, there's this great campaign on there that we've talked about before, where all the single-use plastics and trash on the mountain is compacted into these little silver bags that you clip onto your jacket or your rucksack. They don't weigh anything. And I posted a picture of one of the EverTrekkers carrying one back, and it turned out to be Sinead. So well done.
There we go.
But yeah, so I think we posted and talked about this a little bit as well. So find out about that if you go into the Himalaya, because it's something that we really want to encourage as many EverTrekkers as we can to do, even if it's just one little thing, doesn't add any weight to your bag. Awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Good man. Yeah, great stuff. I think Karen as well, on the flip side, whilst we're on the subject, we were talking about not using maybe sleeping stuff, maybe tablets or herbal remedies, but what about the opposite, and having caffeine tablets? Personally, yeah, if you're sleep deprived, I tell you what, I could have used some of them on Summit Night. I didn't use them, and always, everyone's, especially if you've got a dodgy ticker or something like that, you got to be careful with caffeine tablets. But I mean, I have used them before for keeping up late.
Yeah.
If I'm doing a walk as a last measure, so I'd say why not? If you're coming back down really quickly afterwards, so it's not going to have any long-term effects. And if it makes a difference, it makes a difference.
That's it. Yeah, I don't use them because caffeine tends to be it perks me up, but I come down.
Yeah, you're crashed, don't you?
Yeah. So I think maybe try them out. But certainly, I think there are a lot of people who live on coffee.
Yeah,
handy.
So coffee, Dave. No. If you're into coffee, you'll be all right.
Yeah. So up and down Summit Night is like 12 hours. Well, 12 hours is a long time for Andy to go without a coffee. Having a caffeine pill probably would have done you a world of good there.
It probably would have, actually. Yeah, definitely. So I'm just going through all these questions because I want to make sure we get everyone on the email, because I know they potentially not able to make it and catch it on the replay. A couple of questions just around trips going ahead and things like that. And, we want to, obviously talk about it. I know we've talked about it a lot, especially more on Nepal. But I know it seems to be stretching on longer than planned, doesn't it? This good old, the Big C.
Yeah.
But yeah, John Rain actually asked about, obviously FCO advice, because a lot of advice at the moment going around. Obviously, quarantine, come back to the UK, depending on where you go in. And he's going in Feb 21, which at the moment, everything is going ahead, John. And the situation in the country, poor medical services not likely to improve. What are the options if no expedition? So with, I know we've been in communication with a lot of our Nepalese or autumn customers, because that was like the immediate. We're always as flexible as we can do, within reason. So, yeah, if anything happens, John, and anyone else that's thinking about this as well, that you can move your trip for free.
Yeah,
there's not a problem there. We can do that, and it's probably easier because if you booked with us and you know about us, obviously we don't organise your international flights. We know that, so we kind of leave that down to you. We can guide you on it, which also makes it a lot easier for us to move your trips.
Yeah,
we know life happens. Before COVID, the last couple of years, we've always been flexible. Any last minute injuries and any last minute, I've just had a baby, life gets in the way. We would never put obstacles in the way. I mean, we're trekkers ourselves, we're travelers. We'd hate it if someone said, no, you can't do this, you can't do that. We always want to be super flexible. So yeah, and I want to push that out there as well. That if, you can't make it, or if anything happens because of COVID, because of anything, just give us a shout. We'd like to have a relationship of transparency and trust between us and you guys. And so if you can give us a heads up, and then we can just get you on a trip, because as long as you book with us, we want to take you on this trip. So yeah, I hope that sort of answered your question a little bit, John. But obviously we have to rely on official advice, of course.
Yeah, exactly. Also, moving on now, I think we got a message from.
Yeah,
we got so many questions. It's crazy. David, how many days is the Killy climb, please? Okay, so we only do one route, and I'll tell you why. We do the Lamosho route, which is 8 days. So you summit on day 7, and then day 8 is just the final walk down to the gate, where you can have a celebratory beer and relax. But yeah, the reason why we only do one as opposed to doing all the different routes, is because we want Kilimanjaro to be as successful for you guys as our other trips like EBC. We have a very high success rate in getting people to Everest Base Camp, and we don't want to lose that, because we know that the more success, the greater the experience for you guys. So 7 days up to the summit gives you much longer to acclimatize, as opposed to like a 5-day trip or even a 6-day trip. So we do the Lamosho route to make sure that you guys acclimatize the best. Also, it's the most scenic, and nobody should be in a rush to get to the top, and it's all about the journey. And you get to go through the jungles, you get to go through like the plains, and then you get to go up onto Kili itself, onto the high glaciers and stuff. So it gives you a really complete package. And the other ones, we feel like if you look at the success rates of people that attempt, say the Coca-Cola route, and what they call
Rangi,
which is what
5 days, which
is crazy. Like summit on day 4. When you think Kilimanjaro's nearly a 6,000 meter peak, it's 5,895 meters.
Yeah,
4 days to get to that altitude is crazy. We take 8 days to get to Everest Base Camp, and that's 5,364. So 4 days, half that time. Not happy with that. So Lamosho is the best for acclimatization, and it's the best overall experience as well. So that's why we do it.
Yeah, good man.
And having done it as well, you'll get to see monkeys and stuff like that, in the jungle, and it's also
pretty surprising. And I think someone almost got peed on by one as well.
Yeah, they were right in the middle of the path. Yeah, giving us literally a golden shower as you walk through.
Brilliant. A couple more questions I think we missed further on, but Julie Dallow came up with a question. Toubkal trip seems quite short. How does this work for acclimatization? I know Dave touched on it a little bit earlier about sort of why, because of the height, because it's not extreme altitude. It's almost 4,200 meters as such. And because you're only spending a short time up there, the acclimatization time doesn't have to be that big. And you're down so quickly anyway. You depending on how the group feels, you can you obviously spend a little bit of time on the summit of Toubkal. If you're doing one of the longer routes, if there is an option for the second highest peak, which is Una Korim, I think it's called. I forgot how to pronounce it now, but it's a little bit lower than Toubkal, but also as well you're up and down. So if you've got the energy, you can take on that one, especially during the summer months, because it's kind of easier to take on after nailing the Toubkal summit. So yeah, that's why with regards to Toubkal, we don't need to spend a lot of time acclimatizing really, which is why we've got the 4-day option. And the 4-day is quite popular, although if you're up for a bit of an adventure, also spend a bit of time in Marrakesh, because you get a couple of days in Marrakesh. That's why we do the 8-day, which is awesome.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like a dash to the summit, isn't it? So from the refuge, you're not really going to be, you are touching at altitude, so you will notice it, but it's not really at a high risk of altitude sickness. And then it's quick, get to the top, right, get back down, and then
like the summit sort of thing.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll crack on. I got Jim Blues emailed us yesterday. Any procedure for donating trekking equipment or clothing to the guides at the end of a trip? Sort of handing it off. So, yeah, Dave, I know because we talked a little bit about this earlier. We don't really have a procedure as such, doesn't it? It all depends on, how you feel about it. I mean, because lots of people do it.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, because we say tips. tips are about as compulsory as we can get. Obviously,
Yeah,
it's not
culturally expected,
but yeah, it's expected, and we like to think that everyone will offer financial reward in the form of a tip to all the guys at the end. With equipment and gear and stuff, it is optional, so we don't really have a formal setting for it. But what we say is, give whatever you can to whoever you can, whenever you can, so and you can either give it to the head guide and say, I have this collection of stuff, I'd like you to have it, and ideally share it out or stuff like that. Or if there's one particular person that's helped you out a lot, you can give it to those people. We leave it up to you guys. Ultimately, it's an adventure. It's fun. There's a big group of people that are going to be helping you. You're going to have interactions with some more than others. For instance, like when I went up to Kilimanjaro, there we had all the head guides, 2 head guides, and then some really experienced porters who are training to be guides. And they'll go up in a 1-to-1 ratio. So there was kind of like one guy like shadowing me all the time,
Carry your bag if needed. You're a little bit of a nudge.
Exactly, yeah, all of that stuff. So they go through a lot to help you, and they'll, like Andy said, they'll carry your bag if you need to. They'll give you a little push. They'll help you. They'll make sure you're drinking and eating and stuff like that. So certainly some people might get back to them and give them some gloves or a hat or something like that, and it's all really well appreciated.
Especially in the other countries as well. I mean, I know we talked about that was Nepal, that question specifically, but if we're talking about Tanzania, I know they've got and I think Jerome just made a good point there about the KPAP, which does cover a lot of companies. The company we use has actually got their own one through what we call the Zara charity, and that means that their porters are very well looked after. We've seen firsthand how well looked after they are. So yeah, it's important that you look after those guys, because you'd struggle to get up these mountains without them. And it's anything is amazingly well received. They're so humble as well about receiving them. They'll be your best friend after that. But Jerome, you just asked as well about the nearest airport to do in Toubkal and Marrakesh. Yes, you've got Manara Airport in Marrakesh. It's only about 10 minutes outside of Marrakesh. And once we transfer you to your Riyadh, which is where you stay in Marrakesh, depending on if you're doing the 4 or 8 day, you might go straight up to Imlil, which is about an hour and a half drive. Marrakesh, lovely Marrakesh. It's one of those. Some people always say that it's a love or hate city, because you can absolutely love it, but you will get lost. It's amazing if you ever go to the souks and you get no map will guide you. It's just crazy, but it's it's part of the adventure. Great stuff. Right, Dave, I know we've got lots of questions. It's weird because we had loads come in yesterday, because we did say, look, if you've got any questions and you can't make it, do send us the send us a message. Let's have a little look.
Nietzsche has said, how much notice do I have to give to do the 3 peaks plus going in March? Okay, well, to be honest, I almost want to say, like, you just have to let me know. Ideally, I'd like a month's notice, so I can send all the details over and stuff like that. But I have had people call me, or call into the office like before their trip and say, do you know what, Dave? I think I fancy Island Peak.
Yeah, they do change it. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then like we don't, and I'll do my best to work it out for you. But basically, the more notice you give, the more guaranteed it is. If you give me a month, 100%, I'll guarantee you do the 3 peaks. If you give me a day, I'll see what I can do. but usually we can make it happen. It just depends on the availability of guides, if we have another trip going and stuff like that. So if for instance we don't have another trip going to the 3 peaks at that time, I would quickly have to try and find another guide and get all the accommodation and stuff sorted for you. Giving me as much notice as you can certainly makes a big difference.
Yeah, it's a good question, Paul, because I know Ken O'Leary asked about what's the situation now in Nepal trekking, and it's very similar. We like to think by the spring, we're really hopeful that'll go ahead, and we can't wait, because this year has been nuts. But this is the world we're in at the moment, and we have to keep positive, keep strong. Can't wait to get back to the mountains. But just to answer, about what it's like out there. I mean, at the moment, unfortunately, Kathmandu's not very good. It's their COVID's gone absolutely crazy, going up. So it's not the safest place to be in the world right now.
Exactly. I mean, I know Anuj, I think he might be watching. He was on you earlier.
Yeah.
Certainly spoke to him recently, and he said, you know, Kathmandu is like a lot of the places in the UK at the moment. You know, so even where we are in Wales, we don't have a lot of movement and stuff like that. In Kathmandu, their cases are increasing, and they were in lockdown, and I believe still are in lockdown, and that's likely to be extended. So we think of it in a couple of different ways. One of them is, you know, is it, you know, safe and responsible for people to go to Nepal now and do the trip? You know, although you might get the negative test before you go, and there's a lot of hoops you might have to jump through, like the 14-day quarantine when you get back, all that sort of stuff. What worries me is if you catch it in transit, and then you arrive in Kathmandu, and then 5-7 days later your symptoms start, well, you're going to be above 4,000 meters at that point with a respiratory illness. That's scary. And then also, if you do bring it, you know, it's contributing to the problem in Nepal. You know, contributing to the spread in Nepal. So obviously, there's, you know, some we don't want to do that. So yeah, we're taking a responsible approach. We anticipate that March next year will be good to go. The one thing I tell everybody is Everest isn't going anywhere, and neither are we. You know, so yeah, we'll definitely do that. But
nicely answered, Dave. I think it's more or less covered it. I think there was one question I saw then. Where was it? I think it was Amanda Hilton. Here we go. I just found it now. When do you think a decision? Yeah, so we're looking at with regards to November. Yeah, I mean we're pretty. We'd like to say, okay, yeah, we're going ahead because we're talking about Toubkal now, about going in November, because I know with Nepal and the other countries, you know, it's pretty much been, you know, I know we've been in touch with everyone to sort of say, like, you know, this is the options because of the situation. But yeah, with Morocco, yeah, I'm always quietly confident, but you know, we will have to wait and see. I think we'll have to make a call going through October really and see what it's like. They might open their borders, but they might be, you know, do a test before. There might be some hoops you have to jump through. Yeah, like a lot of countries in Europe right now. Fingers crossed. Let's wait and see, I think, on that one, Amanda. But you know, we'll obviously be in touch about that trip because I know you're obviously booked in on that one. Yeah. You know, we want to keep you as up to date as we can. That's why we hope that, you know, these are handy as well, just so we can sort of talk like this and say, look, you know, we want to be open and transparent with you and say, look, if it's going ahead, we'll be, yes, we'll go in. If it's not, then we'll definitely tell you.
There was two ones that I can answer quite quickly, I think.
Okay.
So I think Miko actually asked another question, which
was that about vaccinations?
Yeah, vaccination. So basically, it's all the normal ones that you need. So Hep A, Hep B, tetanus, polio, that type of thing. Rabies, I believe, as well, but I think that again may be an optional one. What I recommend is that you go to the Nomad Travel Clinic website, and you can search all the destinations that we go to on that website, and it'll give you a complete list of the vaccinations that you can do. And if you visit that clinic to get them, then you know you can mention EverTrek, and there are certain perks there, like a discount and things like that. With anything that's optional, like rabies, we won't tell you to get it or not to get it. It's a judgment call that you have to make based on your sort of comfort level with the risk. I'll anticipate you've asked me whether I've had it. Yes, I have, because I'm a pincushion. I'll just be like, yes, you know.
No, I haven't.
Yeah, and Andy hasn't. So yeah, it all depends on your comfort level. Paul Meacher said, "Is it much harder?" I'm assuming he's talking about the 3 peaks. Yes, it is. So it's our most hardcore trek really that doesn't include a peak.
That's 3 peaks, 3 passes. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's multiple ascents of high passes. But again, you know, if you're up for a bit more of a challenge than just Everest Base Camp, which is one heck of a challenge in itself, then yeah, give that a go. Or Gokyo Valley, of course. It's Paul. I know you booked in on which one's Paul booked in on, Dave?
EBC.
Okay, just classic. Yeah.
Yeah.
But if I mean, we do a route to Island Peak that does go over 2 of the high passes, which is also, I'd probably say that is our most challenging trip that we do in Nepal. But they're all great trips in their own way.
Exactly. I mean, they're all achievable. You know, they're all achievable. It's about what you want to do when you're out there. You know, so like I always say, you know, if you want to go to EBC, go to EBC. If you want to spend longer and go over some high passes and stuff like that on your way, then, you know, we can start looking at places like Gokyo and the 3 peaks. If you want to go really, really, really high, then we'll talk to you about Island Peak and stuff like that. Yeah, certainly. I know there are a lot of people on the High Altitude EverTrekkers Facebook group that have done the Three Peaks, Three Passes trip with us, and put a lot of information out there and stuff like that. So yeah, mine them for information, because they'll be able to tell you from a customer's perspective what it was like.
Yeah, good point actually, Dave. Yeah, because in any Facebook groups, they got a little search bar at the top there. If you go into the group, you can search for say you wanted to know about the Three Peaks, and then all the comments and posts that people have put about it. There's a lot of information there. I know we've had Alan Payne, who's posted a lot of pictures. He's a great EverTrekker. He's been with us. He did the Three Peaks, Three Passes.
What was he, 60 when he did it?
What's that?
Was it on his 60th birthday or 50th?
Yeah, he did it for his 60th. Yeah.
So he was 60 and did it. It was great, man. He did Kilimanjaro, and I remember he was trekking with us in Brecon, and he said he was in Tanzania. I think he was working there or on safari or something. And he said he saw Kilimanjaro, and it was almost a spiritual experience for him. He knew he had to get to the top. Yeah. And then that sort of gave him this sort of burst of enthusiasm for adventure and mountains. And then afterwards, then he did EBC, the Three Passes and stuff like that. I'm sure he'll do much more as well. He's a great guy, Alan.
Yeah, definitely. He's got a lot of. He's a great photographer as well. So yeah, he does provide. If you have a little search of that, if you're interested in that trip specifically, and to get an EverTrekker's viewpoint, definitely have a look at it. Obviously, you can download the guide on the website, on the trip page, if you want our guide, a little walkthrough of the actual trip. But great, yeah, look, great to be back. Great to see a lot of people on here as well, a lot of regulars, even some newbies. We hope we answered some questions.
Yep.
We'll be back next week. We've got a few sort of subjects lined up. They're a little bit different. I know we've talked about certain specific things. We did a little sort of planning meeting, didn't we, Dave, just before I went away a couple of weeks ago, and we came up with some really good stuff. So hopefully, we'll be doing that next couple of weeks. We're also going to be doing some more podcast recording when we can. All the team are working from home at the moment. We, have to, again, we want to get back to the office as soon as we can, but don't worry, we're here. We're all got access to everything. So, the EverTrekkers and the Yetis are still available for everyone. So,
of course.
Next week we have a new Yeti starting, which is exciting.
Very exciting.
Next week. So, really excited about that, to grow the team even more. So, especially after Fee, the Bimblin Yeti, joined us. He's in like 5th week now, which has flown by.
Is Fee that? Is Fee a 5th week?
It's crazy. But we've got a new Yeti next week, so I won't spoil it. Join us, find out who that is. And we look forward to seeing you guys next week.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks, guys. Take care.
Thanks, guys. Bye.